Good morning, good morning. Welcome to a Farmers Media Breakfast Show. Today is the 16th of December 2022, and the days are inching closer and closer, and this is Christmas. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for that day. I am excited for that day. And we are coming to you live from Kajiado County, and I am your host, Christine Mutindi. And unfortunately, today, I'm lonely, yeah, but not really alone. I'm lonely, not alone, yeah. And I hope that you're going to enjoy the show and you are here with us. Now remember, you can send in your comments, your reviews, your questions on our social media platforms. That is on Facebook, A Farmers Media, on YouTube, A Farmers Media, on Instagram, A Farmers _ Media, and on Twitter at A Farmers Media. On Twitter and Instagram, it's a farmers with a Z at the end. Yeah. Please keep those comments coming, your questions coming, and whatever we'll be discussing this morning. Of course, we'll start with a little bit of the weather. Today the sun was up by 6. Yeah, it was already bright, and I was like, I am already late, and it was so bright, and it's still early. So I don't know. On your end, how was it? How is your morning? And as we always say with Mwakio, take a notebook, be ready, because everything we discuss, you have to note it down, because we give you information. And remember, our Farmers Media, we are all about helping you connect, learn, and grow. That is what we are all about. So please make sure that you have a notebook, you have your coffee, and we start our show this morning. Now, the weather has been it's been a bit in Kajiado County. It's a little bit sunny. In the evening, it's windy again. It's a bit cold. Yeah, so the weather has been fluctuating up and down, up and down, up and down. But of course, I'll give you the updates in other counties, how it's looking. Also, we look at the traffic, and we get to the topic of discussion, and also in the newspapers. Now, as we go straight to the newspapers, last week we talked about the baobab tree, and there was something that it was being not to be cut, that the baobab trees were not supposed to be cut. And apparently, in Kilifi County, there is the NEMA, that is the National Environmental and Management Authority. They stopped a farmer who was actually cutting down his baobab tree. And this is in the Daily Nation. And this is what we were saying, that the baobab trees are not supposed to be cut. And it's a good thing, because today we'll be speaking about indigenous seeds policies. And you realize that once the trees are being cut down, then this means that even the baobabs are becoming extinct. And if we cut all the trees, then in 5-10 years, we will not have mabuyu. Imagine the way you enjoy mabuyu. I personally enjoy mabuyu because I grew up eating mabuyu, right from not even the sugared one, the flavored one. I used to eat the original one from the baobab tree. So yeah, that is one of the things that we're trying to understand, the protection of the seeds, the indigenous seeds, and what is happening in the indigenous seeds, how they're stored, and everything else good that comes with it. So please, as I told you before, take that notebook. Take that notebook, because we'll be giving you all the good details and the right ones right here on our Farmers Media Breakfast Show. Now, another thing is that we have farmers who have put up a court case, and this is against the policy of indigenous seeds, and this is in Machakos County. Yeah, they do not. They want the overturn of that enactment of the law to help them so that they can start sharing their seeds, because apparently they're not being able to share their seeds. I know this is something that you didn't know, and I was telling someone yesterday if they knew that happened, and to my surprise, they actually had no idea. Yes, and another story that is on our headlines today is that the government is going to allow millers to import 900,000 tons of maize and 600,000 tons of rice duty-free from February to August 2023. So this means it is good news for farmers next year. They're going to be able to import. I don't know what your thoughts are, because this was mentioned by the President of the Republic on Jamhuri Day celebrations. He said that they're going to import bags of different assorted or varieties of seeds, and this is going to temporarily close the gap of food insecurity that has been caused by lack of rains, lack of adequate rains, and again the prolonged drought. So this means that from February up to August next year, that is 2023, we're going to have 900,000 tons of maize and 600,000 tons of rice, and this is duty free. Yeah, so I don't know what do you think? What are your thoughts on that? And these are just some of the stories that are making headlines in our agriculture sector this morning. And again, we have the Ministry of Agriculture is plans to conduct soil mapping and testing exercises, and this is to across the country ahead of the distribution of the subsidized fertilizer to help determine the type of supplement that will be applied in a given region. So they're going to be doing it in different regions. So if it is Makueni County, they will know which type of fertilizer that they're going to give to that specific county. Again, the Ministry of Agriculture says also that they have information gathered from the mapping exercise is expected to start this month. So this December, they're going to start the information gathering of the soil mapping for different counties, and the key elements that are missing in a given region, so that it applies farmers with soil specific fertilizer. Now this comes amidst some complaints by some local farmers, and this we read yesterday in western region that some farmers have said that they have not yet received the subsidized fertilizer, but now you see this is a good thing because the government plans to first do soil testing and soil mapping to identify the type of soil, the key elements missing in that type of area, so that they supply the correct or the required fertilizer for that specific area. And this is going to help because I remember during our last week when we were celebrating World Soil Day and we spoke about soil mapping and soil testing and soil fertility. So all these things are a move to ensure that we are self-sufficient as a country, that we provide the best, we have the high yield, we have high productivity, and this is the goal of the government. And this, to me, seems quite good because doing soil mapping and soil testing for a farmer, it is also going to educate them on their type of soil, so that for them also they do not go and buy just any type of fertilizer that they find, or you're given a fertilizer by your neighbor, you do not know which type of fertilizer, and maybe your soil is high in is acidic, maybe your soil has a lot of phosphorus, and these are just some of the elements that are going to be identified from the soil mapping test and soil testing exercise that is set to begin this month. And that is good news all along. That is good news. So please tell me, what do you think? Is this a good move? Tell me where you're watching us from. I would like to get to interact with you because here we connect, we learn and grow. So I want to connect with you. Please send in your comments. Tell me where you're watching us from, and would like to just give you a shout out. Yeah, just give you a shout out so that we continue with this journey together this morning. And just looking at our dailies this morning, we have also another story about the farmers, and these are mostly the livestock farmers who are saying that they need the government to help them offset the large numbers of livestock. And this was an exercise that was brought about by the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua during the prolonged period, and this was experienced in almost 13 counties that had prolonged drought. And now the government, through the Kenya Meat Commission, was supposed to buy livestock from these farmers, and they have not yet done that. And this is according to some farmers in Isiolo County and Marsabit, who are saying that they have not yet seen that exercise kick off. And those are just some of the stories that are making headlines on our dailies this morning. Tell us what is happening, any incidents or accidents on your end. Please let us know when it comes to agriculture. And of course, later on, we'll be joined by an expert and an advocate for indigenous seeds policy from Greenpeace Africa, and a farmer. He's going to be telling us what is happening, the experiences he's had, and his view on the seed policy as well. But on that note, I would like to just look at the weather this morning, and we can see that in Machakos County, we are going to experience highs of 27 and lows of 15. So as I told you, the sun was already up very, very, very early, and this was as early as 6 a.m. So that shows you that today is going to be a little bit sunny. It's going to be a sunny day. It's going to be a sunny day. And in Kakamega County, I can see that we'll be having a little bit of rain showers. This morning. This is just some of the counties that we are experiencing some rain showers. And in Malindi, I can see, hey, it's going to be sunny. So yeah, the holiday, you can start enjoying the holiday because the days are inching closer and closer. You're going to start enjoying some sunny intervals in those areas. So it's sunny in most of the counties. Yeah, so please, you can tell me if you're farming, is it too hot for you to be in the farm right now? So it is just some of the counties that we get to look at the weather. We like telling you everything that is happening. We don't want you to miss anything. We do not want you to miss even a little bit of what is happening in our areas. And this comes from agriculture, and this is in weather, in traffic, everything that is happening. We need to tell you so that you are here with us and we help you connect, learn, and grow as well. And now in some other areas, hey, I can see someone is telling me that in the area it is very cold. I should send them the sun I'm talking about, and I will try and send you the sun. In Kisumu County, sunny intervals, lows of 18 degrees and highs of 30 degrees. So you see, in Kisumu also it is sunny. In Eldoret, sunny intervals as well. In Nyeri, it is sunny but a little bit cloudy as well. In Nakuru, it is sunny intervals as well. So in Marsabit County, sunny intervals. So as I told you before, in most of the areas it is a bit sunny. Sunny intervals are being experienced. No much of rain showers in those areas. And Mombasa, it is sunny all the way. I would love to be there, but now I have to be here to help you connect, learn, and grow. So those are just some of the weather updates that are in our counties. Sunny all along, and it is quite good because also if you're going home, make sure that you farm. Make sure that you are also farming. It is sunny. It is not cold. You don't want to say that it is cold. I don't want to go farming. I don't want to do that. It is sunny. So please make sure that you make most of that time. And as I told you, today we're going to be talking or discussing about indigenous seeds policy. Now, indigenous seeds, they need to be preserved, yes. But I'm sure you didn't know that there is a law. There is a law that disputes you from sharing these indigenous seeds. An expert is here to discuss that with us, and in as much as, yes, it has not been enacted, it has not yet started being enacted, it is there. And we need to understand what is the law. How does it affect us as the informal farmers and the formal farmers as well? What does it entail? These are some of the details that we would love for you to know, and so that once you're farming and you're out there doing your business, you are able to understand what is happening. And I am joined by an advocate from Greenpeace Africa. Good morning, Anthony.
Morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Anthony, if you can hear me, how are you? Good morning.
Quite fine, fine. I am also well. The show.
I am fine as well. And I'll just like you to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us what you do and a little bit about your movement as we get to discuss about the Indigenous Seeds Policy.
Okay, so my name is Anthony Madilski, and we are pushing the campaign for the Indigenous seed policy. So it's about the sovereignty and repealing the law that actually revokes farmers from distributing or selling seeds.
Anthony, you seem to be breaking off a little bit. I didn't hear your last statement. If you could please repeat that. We're not getting you clearly. It seems like your internet is cutting off. We cannot get you clearly. If you could repeat the last
Okay.
statement. Okay, and we'll get back to Anthony Madelsky, and he will be telling us more on that as we continue. We need to understand what are indigenous seeds. Why do we need to preserve them? What is a seed bank? I actually didn't know there was a seed bank until I spoke or we discussed with Mr. Anthony, and he helped me understand. So yeah, I would love also for you to understand because we are here for you and we would want to get the information out there, the right information, so that we avoid the cases of misinformation and disinformation, so that when you're making a decision you know and how it affects you as a farmer. Remember, we are here to help that to ensure that we have high productivity, we have high crop yield, and our soils are safe, and we are also satisfied as farmers, and we are satisfied to tell you as farmers that what you're doing is the right thing, or the way that you're going is the right way. And now, just to have a little bit, we have just to look a little bit at this law and the Constitution of Kenya in 2010. Expressly recognize the existence of indigenous seeds. And indigenous seeds vary. We have vegetables, we have trees, we have plants. So it is quite interesting. And I would want to get it from the expert who has been dealing with this. And he's been out there, he's been speaking to farmers, and he's been getting the information from the farmers so that they can help enact help them voice their views. Yeah, and we are here also to help you connect with the experts also and voice your views as well. So we'll be getting that. So if you have a question about indigenous seeds policy and you need to understand this law, you need to understand what you need to do. Please leave your comment on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page, and that is A Farmers Media on Facebook, A Farmers Media on YouTube, and on Instagram we are A Farmers, that is A Farmers with a Z underscore media, and on Twitter at A Farmers Media. We'll be getting more on that. For now, let me take a short breather, take a sip of coffee, and I will be back with more. And Anthony will be joining us. We get to discuss this. We broaden this. We dissect this issue of indigenous seed policy and understand it to the letter. See you after the short break.
Beetroot Beetroot is a highly nutritious root vegetable. The beetroot is the taproot portion of a beet plant. It is one of the many varieties of the genus Beta vulgaris, all of which are mostly grown for their edible taproots and leaves. Beetroot is a root crop that takes approximately 3 to 4 months to mature. Beetroot is a fairly easy crop to grow as long as the soil is well cultivated prior to planting. Beetroots do not enjoy wet, boggy or shady soils. Beetroot can be sown in trays and transplanted when the seedlings have 2 true leaves. Plant in full sun, space seedlings 10 to 15 centimeters apart, and rows 20 centimeters to 30 centimeters apart so they have room to grow. Beetroots are also ideal for containers or raised beds. Beetroots will happily thrive in small areas as long as there's at least 20 centimeters depth of soil. Beetroot has been used not only for food but also for treatment for numerous conditions. Amaranthus, or locally known as terere, is a highly nutritious vegetable that is cultivated and consumed as a leafy vegetable in many parts of the world. It's easy to grow, matures fast, as it takes an incredible shorter period than most traditional crops. There are many species of amaranthus, with some green and others red in color. When growing amaranthus, ensure the soil is well drained and rich in phosphorus, and most importantly, ensure the seeds are well distributed to achieve an even spread when establishing a grain amaranthus field. Amaranthus is especially loved for its tender leaves and for their healthy dose of ions, vitamins, and a range of minerals.
Welcome back to Breakfast Show right here on our Farmers Media. Now, before we went for the break, we were discussing about indigenous seeds, and we have an expert, and an advocate, and we need to understand what is this policy that is there. How do we deal with it? How do we work around it or work through it? What is it and why was it put in place? I mean, we need to understand all these things, because once it is enacted into a law, you could be fined up to 1 million Kenya shillings, or imprisonment for 2 years, or both. Okay? So imagine 1 million Kenya shillings. I am already doing the mathematics for me, and it seems good money for me to do something else that I will not say here. Make sure you see me after the show, and I'll tell you probably what I would do. But imagine that. And that is why some of the people are calling it a punitive law. And we need to understand this. And Anthony will help us get through all this. We need to just fill this crossword puzzle, because to me it seems like a crossword puzzle. A law that prevents you, or rather restricts your sharing of seeds. And that is what we used to do. Imagine as young people, or when you were very little, your mom will tell you, go to your auntie's place and give her the seeds. Tell her, hii ndio mbegu ya kupanda hii season. And we used to share them as neighbors, as friends, as cousins. You know, in our normal African setup, we used to share the seeds. And even you could go to someone's farm and find that this is a good breed of cowpeas. Could I get a piece of it? Could I get some seeds so that I could go plant? Imagine all this. If I hope you're getting all this, and it's not allowed to be shared anymore. So once it's enacted, you will not be allowed to do that. You will be fined or imprisoned for doing that. And that is the most surprising part. And I was telling you that I was explaining it to someone yesterday, and they were like, you are not serious. This is something that we do. How come it is a law and we do not know about it? So that is also another part. Why don't people know about it? Why are only a handful of farmers know about this? How come it is only a few people who know about it? Because if it is a law, then if it is in the constitution that it needs to be done, and it is enacted into a law, then every farmer needs to know about it. So how come only a handful of them know that? But that is what I am here for, and that is why we are here, and as a farmers media, to help you understand these policies, to help you understand these laws, how they affect you, what you need to do. Because I honestly, I do not want to come here and say good morning, and one of the farmers that has been watching me is in prison or is looking for funds, the 1 million Kenya shillings to pay for the fine. I want all of you to be here. That is why we want to inform you. We want to bring the information out there to help you understand. And other people, there are also some controversies, and other people are claiming that it is a tactic to control Kenya's food system. And I want all of us to understand this as a farmers media, and you as a farmer, as an informal farmer or as a formal farmer. Everyone needs to get this information. So maybe we get to Anthony this morning. Good morning, Anthony. Okay, and we'll be getting to him as we get to just understand the Indigenous seed policy. Anthony, if you can hear me now, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Now I can hear you clearly. Good morning.
Fantastic. Good morning. Sorry for the technical glitch. Morning internet connections are a bit. But yes, how are you?
I am very fine, and I'm excited that you're here. And it is the internet of things, as we call it here, but it is okay now. We can get you loud and clear. So probably, if you could start again by introducing yourself and tell us what you do, because today I'm going to be asking you so many things I need to understand because I still do not get.
All right, yes. So my name is Anthony Madil. I am a Greenpeace volunteer and advocate, and I'm a spokesperson as well for the Indigenous Seeds policy. So what we are essentially trying to do is create awareness as well as to push the government to remove the law that prevents the sharing, selling, or exchanging of indigenous seeds.
Okay, so you said revoke and remove, sharing and what do you mean by sharing? I just need to understand. Does it mean that we exchange seeds, and that could land me in trouble as a farmer, and I'm sharing seeds with probably my sister or my neighbor?
Yes, yes, yes. Essentially, this seed law, it's called the Seed and Plant Varieties Act, Cap 326 of 2012. So what it essentially does is it prohibits the sharing, selling, and exchanging of uncertified or and unregistered seeds. So sharing is what we basically do in farming. When I plant maize or I plant beans, I share them with my neighbors. Plant maize, have excess, give them a neighbor for him to give me beans. That is prohibited under this law. And when it's exchanging, now exchanging is, let's say I plant a variety of maize that are doing well on my farm, but my neighbor may have a different variety of farm. So we exchange to see what it reacts to different farms. That is also prohibited if you're not registered under a governmental agency. And also when it comes to selling, because we also do sell as farmers. When I plant excess seeds, I have the ones that I conserve, and then I sell some to my neighbors or other people for other tasks. As long as uncertified by the government, what I'm doing is illegal. So that's what this law essentially does to most of the
So is it a law that has been already been enacted, or it is not? It is yet to be enacted for these farmers. And you mentioned registration. If I have seeds, is there a way of registering my seeds before I share them? So is there a process for registration? If maybe we could get that registration part before we get to the law part.
Certainly. So when you go to the government, there are offices or there are processes that you can use to register your seeds. The only problem that we find with that is one, they are very vague. So these are processes that are not entirely clear, especially when it comes to most small scale farmers who are from the informal sector. Most farmers that we have in Kenya are not necessarily, you can't say like all of them went through the entirety of formal education. They went through some basic education. So when it comes to registration, it's very difficult bureaucratic processes that are there. And that's what hinders most of the farmers in our country to actually register their seeds. And to ignore that there's registered seeds. Where this law was passed, most farmers that we keep encountering don't even know that it's a law. And when it comes to whether the government is enacting it or not, the law is there. It's already been set. The only issue we have, and why now for Greenpeace we are trying to advocate for, is when decides that they want to now enforce this law. They want to now make sure that this law is followed by a single farmer. That's where it comes in as a problem, because they'll just decide one day and every farmer will be caught off guard. 75% of the farming country is done by the small scale or informal farmers. So imagine 75% of our farmers not knowing that whatever they're doing in terms of their farming is actually illegal. So that's where the problem comes in.
So only 75%, 70, that means that only 25% of the farmers know about this law. So why the big gap? Because it seems like there's a gap here. So this means something is not being done right. So what is it that makes the 75 not know that there is a law that prohibits them from selling or exchanging their seeds?
Well, it just boils down to normal government bureaucracy and also the fact that they know that such a law would never be accepted if they actually told the farmers. I mean, look at how we do most of our farming. The moment you buy a farm, you have neighbors. The neighbors immediately share whichever produce or whichever seeds that they've been having the entire time. Now, when that kind of sharing and when the community, how we are as kind of very communal, very society country, the moment you put in a law that says, oh, you can't share unless it's been registered, and then the registration haven't even told you how to do it, it's quite vague. That's why the government hasn't told the farmers. And then they don't tell the farmers to pass a law. They are busy doing farming, they actually do it in an entire nation, and this has it in place. It's in place from 2012, and no small-scale farmer was considered. That's I think, the tragedy of the situation, because you find us we end up encountering, even for me myself, being even a son to a farmer. My own mother didn't know about it until the moment I mentioned her. So that's where the government has gone wrong. It never consulted the farmers, and that's why you find almost the entirety of our small-scale farming sector has no idea that this law has been there from 2012.
And that is alarming, because this means that public participation was not conducted and on these farmers, and 75 is quite a huge number. Now, who does this seed policy protect? Is it the government or is it the farmer? Because 75 is quite a huge number of farmers not knowing that there is a law. So in its entirety, who does it really protect?
Well, to be honest, anything that doesn't necessarily favor the population or the majority of the population doesn't really favor the population. It doesn't favor the citizens. It doesn't favor the farmers. This law is mainly to protect, in a way, government interests with multinational companies. If you think about it, when we are talking about registering the seeds, the only time that you find like a normal Kenyan will go and register is if they know or if they're doing industrial farming. And when it comes to industrial scale farming, there are companies behind the distribution of those seeds. So you find a law like this mainly favors multinational companies that aren't even based in Kenya. You find some of them, the brands, they're not Kenyan brands. So you find that's the difficulty. It doesn't favor the citizens. It favors government interests, and it also favors multinational companies that aren't even based in the country.
And I am still wrapping my head around that fact. And now we bring in this question that has been an elephant in the room, and it has brought a lot of controversy. And this is GMO seeds. If the ban on GMO importation of GMO seeds was lifted, and this was put in place in 2010, and then in 2012 we bring in the seed policy, but the ban on GMO was lifted. Why is the government relenting in terms of lifting or revoking this seed policy that was put in place in 2012? And why didn't they start with the seed policy and then move on to GMO? Because if GMO was banned in 2010 but it was lifted this year, why is the government relenting?
I think the government is really, because as ever in such situations, it's all about money. You see, the problem that we have is, as I said, 75% of our farming is done by small scale farmers. These are the informal farmers. But you see, the thing of farmers are, they're scale. They mainly grow what they themselves consume and what just people in the immediate environs can consume. But the government is trying to look for more money. So when they lift a ban on GMOs, it's to allow multinational companies to come in with their seeds, pay the government, which they need that money, or they're trying to look for that money, or in other cases you find there's also corruption involved but no allegations made because I have no sources. You find that such things come in because it's always about money. They don't include the small scale farmers in this because where the small scale farmers supposed to come up with billions and billions and billions, we feed our country, yes, but we don't have that kind of money that the government is trying to mince off us. And the government does have its own interest when it comes to how they're making their own money. So you find the lifting of the GMO, it's money. Not repealing this law that discourages indigenous seed production, also about money. Because if this law exists, the indigenous seed law exists, you find that most of the time we would have been okay. But now if they start enacting this law, we have to now go and buy the seeds that are coming into the country. When we buy those seeds with money we do not have because of how tough the situation or the economic climate is in this country, that's where the problem is coming. It's money. It's always about money.
Wow, and I am still shocked. Now it is about money. So this means that if we do not buy, if we do not have to share the seeds, we have to go and buy the seeds that are coming in. We're not allowed to share the seeds. So what happens to the seeds that we have? Do we put them in a seed bank, and how does this seed bank operate?
Well, that would have been the case if the government was thinking about its own citizens. Actually, the government would have been emphasizing on us using the seeds we already have. Because when you look at how indigenous seeds work, indigenous seeds are seeds of generations. It's the seeds we've been using to plant our own crops. It's the seeds we've been using from time to time, the ones even that are passed on from one generation to the next. These are our seeds. They've developed their own resilience and their own resistance into different climates. They've climatized themselves into different places. The government should have started supporting the seed we already have. The problem that you're getting in is these multinational companies can make, especially when it comes to GMOs, seeds as much as they want. The problem with that is it's seeds that aren't meant for us. It's seeds that actually limits the farmers. And it's seeds that we didn't have to buy seeds, because whenever we harvest seeds, we have some to plant for the next season. Now you're being told you have almost every single season. Most of these GMO seeds can be regrown. Once you harvest them, that is it. You have to go buy GMOs again. And even when it comes even to the registered seeds about, the registered certified, it's still from abroad. These things haven't yet been climatized to our own country. They are not our indigenous seeds.
And I get why this it is being called the punitive law. It is quite punitive, and I am trying to imagine what we used to do as farmers and as at home. We have just gotten from the farm, and we are told my mother selects the while we were just selecting the maize. She puts aside some maize, and she identifies as the good breed to replant it again. So this means that this, once enacted into a law, all this will stop. I mean, how? I am still shocked at if that is also illegal, because putting aside your seeds means that you can regrow your seeds. But with GMO, you cannot grow those seeds again. So what happens to the seeds we have, the seed banks, and do we plant this indigenous seeds alongside the GMO, or how is the planting? Because, and I'm asking this because I know you have interacted with farmers. You have heard their voices and how they are using their indigenous seeds. Can we plant these seeds alongside the GMO seeds, or what do we do with the seeds that we currently have as indigenous seeds and as informal farmers?
Well, now that's where the difficulty comes in, because under this and Plucked Varieties Act, under that law, that's the key thing you have to see. It's the uncertified and unregistered. The problem we have with that is if a multinational company comes into the country, gets their hands on some of the seeds we have, goes and registers it themselves, if you're found with that same seed to any capacity distributing it, you will be contravening their copyright law, despite the fact that that multinational company came in like a year ago and you've been planting those seeds that your grandfather and your great-grandfather and your great-great-grandfather were planting. So when it comes to even how we under this law, because still someone can come and claim that the seeds you have been planting are their seeds, and by you planting them and by mistake distributing them without their permission for seeds you had for generations, that's illegal. So that's the first challenge we have, even with how we are to even go on with using our own indigenous seeds. It's as long as we are not the ones registering it and we're not the ones certifying it, someone else will. And most of the time, this isn't a person in our own country. Now, when it comes to how GMOs and how our indigenous seeds are grown, you can't grow them in the same place. GMO, most of the time, it usually encourage a monoculture sort of farming. That in an indigenous seed farm where you'd find maize, you'd find beans, you'd find some other plant variety. When it comes to GMO, you can only plant one thing. And the moment a GMO seed, say a GMO maize, comes into contact with an indigenous maize, it actually eats. So most of the time, when it comes to planting GMOs, you are told to keep a 30-meter gap between how you plant GMO and to the next plant variety. And can you imagine if you have a 1-acre farm, you are planting and you have 30 meters in a 1-acre farm. What's left? A table? Maybe just a table to plant, I don't know, a couple of maize cones. That's the true tragedy when it comes to how these seeds are done.
Yes, and I am still shocked that a multinational company will own the copyright of a seed that has been planted by my great grandfather, my grandfather, and my father. So this means that once I plant it or I probably share it with my neighbor, I am infringing the copyright of a multinational corporation. I mean, why, when did we get here? When did we get to this point where we are now trying to control the food system? Is it a control of the food system in our country?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's where we've come to. It's very, very sad because just a few weeks ago, I actually met a farmer who was saying that one of her right
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Please, maybe if you could take that up
a
again.
by a man from abroad who actually came into the country, got the grass, went and registered it and applied it himself. So now when this farmer in Kenya, who's had it for generations, was oh, apologies. I'm saying that quite tragic because even recently we actually had a case of a farmer who was saying that one of the neighbors in her area was actually taken to court because of a grass growing that had been certified by someone from abroad. He didn't know about it. So the moment he tried to distribute it, he was, how farmers have been doing it for generations, and now a person accepts it as well. He was taken to court. Yeah, that is not your grass distribute. You are giving to the person who registered it. And it was very sad because the farmer who was talking to us was saying they've been growing that grass for like almost hundreds of years. They're like, it is a native to their area. How can someone from abroad come and say it's their grass?
That is alarming. That is alarming. So how do we control such things from happening? How do we preserve our indigenous seeds?
The only way we can preserve our indigenous seeds is by, first of all, fighting laws that prevent us from having them. A law like this is very, and so we call it very punitive. It's very restrictive because it only makes us now go and buy something that has come from abroad. We won't be able to keep it you already have. First thing we have to do is fight such laws. We have to educate ourselves so that every single farmer in the country, that's 70% of farmers, know that this law exists and we need to fight against it. That's the first step. The second step When this law is fought and when this law is removed, it's to encourage government to bring in safe policies that encourage most of our indigenous seeds to not only keep getting grown, but now for even seed banks to actually have these seeds in store for them to be shared by different people in regions of the country. That's how we protect these indigenous seeds. Beyond that, there's nothing much we can do, especially when this law is still enacted. We do much until the moment this law is removed.
Now, Anthony, if I could just ask you, your organization, how are you doing it? How are you? Is it by public participation? Is it by mobilization? How are you doing this? Because farmers need to understand what they're doing and the danger it could land them into, because 1 million is quite a huge amount of money for an informal farmer who just depends on probably maize to make their ends meet. So, as an organization, how are you doing it? Um, Anthony, if you can hear me, Anthony. Okay, and we will get back to Anthony, who will tell us how, as an organization, they are the forefront of ensuring that we have safe policies for farmers. And the reason is to why I am amazed by this, that sharing your seeds could be illegal once the law is enacted. This means that the law is already there. And I want to know from you as a farmer, did you know that this law existed? Please just let me know on the comment section. Let me know on the comment section, because we just need to understand this and help other farmers understand it. Because once it is enacted into a law, you will be fined a fine of up to 1 million Kenya shillings or 2 years imprisonment, or both. And I'm sure you have heard the story about the farmer who was farming grass and someone else registered and the copyright. So now they own the copyright to that specific variety of grass. So once the farmer is sharing it or selling it, they are infringing the copyright of someone else. I want to understand, did you know that this law existed? As a farmer, did you know that this law existed? And if probably you did you know the extent to which it takes? Did you know about the fine? Did you know about the legal implication of you sharing the seeds? Because from where I sit, it is a punitive law. It is a really punitive law, because these are things that we have done. This is our tradition. We have done this from long time. We have been sharing seeds. And when we go to the shamba after harvesting the maize, some maize is put aside because it could be identified that this is a good breed. And good news is I'll be joined later on by a farmer also. Him being a farmer, he will help us understand and see the point of view from a farmer's point of view, from a farmer's level. What have you been doing? How do you identify your seeds? How does this law, where does it press? Because you see, it has to press somewhere. It is like stepping on your toe. And my mom tells me that stepping on someone's toe for the first time, that is a mistake. But the second time, okay. But the third time, it feels like an insult. So, as a farmer, how is it seed policy? Where is it pressing? Is it the pockets? Is it everything that comes with it? Because we need to understand this. I am shocked. I am really shocked that 75% of farmers do not know. And remember, we say that 80%, or rather 90% of farmers in Kenya are informal. This means that and for agriculture to contribute 40% of the GDP in Kenya, it means that a large number of these people are farmers. And this information, you can only get it right here on a Farmers Media. So please give me your comments, your questions on our social media platforms, and please tell me, did you know about the seed policy? Did you know that you could be arrested, you could be fined 1 million Kenya shillings or 2 years imprisonment, or both, for just sharing your indigenous seeds, the seeds that you've kept aside, and you're told, hizo msipike githeri, those ones are not going to cook githeri because that is the seed we're going to plant. It happens for maize, for beans, for just everything, even papaya. Once you get papaya, you're removing the seeds and you're storing it in the, you sun dry them so that you can plant them again. But that could be a thing of the past. It could be illegal. Wow, I am shocked, and I just want to know your point of view. And on that note, I would just like to tell you about the campaign that we have been running in conjunction with Markup, and this is a campaign on aflatoxin. And this is to sensitize farmers and consumers about aflatoxins. And did you know that the primary source of aflatoxins is soil? And soil can affect not only maize, because people just know about maize. It also affects peanuts, black pepper, green chilies as well. And it affects also products that are made from peanuts. Okay? So this shows that the primary source of aflatoxins is soil. And for more information on that, just to know how to know if your soil has aflatoxin or if your product has aflatoxins, please visit the Markup Unido website. You will get more information there. Visit that website, that is Markup Unido website, because they are at the forefront of educating farmers about the dangers and what to know about aflatoxins and the carcinogens that come with aflatoxins and can cause liver cancer. They are here to ensure that you are safe and your food is safe, your soil is safe, and everything that comes from your farm is safe. Now, we are running that campaign in conjunction with Markup. So you can also visit our website, that we will be running more campaigns there and more information, and that is www.afarmerswithaz.com. Please visit our website or Markup Unido website for more information. See you after the short break, where we'll get to finish up our interview or our conversation with Anthony, who is an advocate at Greenpeace Africa. See you after the break. And we are back, and Anthony is back with us. Anthony, if you can hear me, before the hiccup, you were just explaining to us about what you're doing, the policies that we need to do, the first step and the second step. to ensure that we have safe policies. And I was asking you, I had just asked you a question about your organization. What is it doing to ensure that the 75% who do not know that there is a law, what are you doing as an organization?
Yes, I hope you can hear me clearly. So, what we are as an organization is educating the farmers. So that's our first. Since we knew the law existed, we start going from farm to farm to farmers. What are they? Do they even know these laws? And what steps could we take in order for this law to be removed? In order for us to be when it comes to high farm indigenous. So as an organization, we mainly farms, educators, and we have been able to petition law removed. So we actually do have court pending petition to remove.
Anthony, you're
The
breaking up a little bit. You're breaking up. I cannot
law
hear you
and we
clearly. You
gathered
have
even
courts
farmers are
pending cases.
encouraged. Yes. Yes, we have been able to take this matter to court. So is actually in court.
Anthony, I cannot hear you clearly. Seems you have a
From this
hiccup.
with
I would really love to hear what you're saying about the court pending cases, because I am aware of a pending case, or a case that has been presented, that is in Machakos County, by farmers, and they want the reenactment of this law, or revoking of this law. So I would love to, probably if you could just get to somewhere where we have stable connection. We really need to understand about this court cases and what you've been doing as an organization, and also how you are conducting the education. Is it by public participation, or so I don't know. Anthony, can you hear me now? Have you gotten a stable connection?
yes, I can hear you now. I don't know if I can be heard clear.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Awesome. Yes. So I can reiterate the things that Greenpeace is currently in regards to this law and the farmers.
Yes, you can reiterate that.
Good. So essentially, what we do is, for Greenpeace, we do actually take climatic issues or environmental issues very seriously with our organization. And any law that can sort of restrict a farmer's independence, a farmer's, so hits us hard as an organization. So the moment we had a this food law, or this seeds law, we decided to go and educate farmers first of all, to let them know this law exists, to let them know this law is an actual law, and the government could reinforce it or enforce it at any time. And the second thing we also did is we took a petition to court in order for the courts and the farmers to now have their voices heard in regards to this punitive law. So currently we do have a court case that we have taken up in order to challenge the government on this law, and for them to be able to in order for our farmers and our small scale farmers to be supported as they do their farming.
And just a quick one. In terms, when it comes to education, how far have you reached? Like, what percentage, and how is the reception of the farmers? Because they need to understand this. Is it by public participation, and have you been able to reach a wider audience of the farmers?
Yes, it is actually mainly through participation, where we visit the farm, different farmers, and we go to them and educate. Also, to our social media. So once we started doing the campaign, we are pushing out the message out there. We are creating petitions as an organizer for people to sign, in order for them to know that this is there for them to sign it. In order for also the government people are becoming more aware about this. We are also trying to also get as many of the also say their stories. So even getting farmers to talk into different new what can we call them, TV stations, news agencies, getting this story even heard via newspaper. We are trying as much as possible to create an environment where every single farmer gets to hear about this law. So we are doing it in public, we're doing it even via interviews, such as even the one today. So we are trying as much as possible to get the word out there in order for as many farmers as possible to know that this law exists and we need.
That is very, this is very noble, because educating farmers, and that has been the gap all along. That has been the missing, has been the missing puzzle, a piece of the puzzle, getting information out there to the farmers. And that is why we are here also as a farmers media, to help all the farmers connect, learn, and grow. And this is quite noble. And I just want to get your parting shot to everyone who's watching us this morning.
Yes, my short, we are a nation. No, at absolutely when should anyone dictate to us how to feed ourselves. We have fed us for generations. We shall continue to feed ourselves for even generations. We do not laws, do not that we are trained how we produce our food.
Very much, and we wish you all the best. And of course, we'll keep getting in touch with you so that we know how far you've gone, and again how it is, the reception from the farmers as well, and get to understand, because we are here also to educate the farmers. And we wish you all the best in this noble act of educating the farmers and helping them understand the indigenous seeds, and also the reenactment of this punitive law. We wish you all the best. From now, for me, it is just bye bye, and I hope to get in touch with you very soon, Anthony.
Thank you so much. A very good opportunity that you've given me here, and we hope that the next time we shall be having some very good regards to this law being removed. Thank you so much.
Okay, and there you have heard it from Mr. Anthony Madilski, and he's an advocate of Greenpeace Africa, and they are at the forefront of ensuring that the 75% of the farmers who do not know about this law actually get to understand what it is. And I have just some comments, and this is on my Facebook, and someone just has chosen to tell me that, and this is Florence. She's telling that this is just a way of controlling our food systems. Again, so you see, this is just a way of controlling our food system. And these are just some of the views that are coming in about the indigenous seed policy. 1 million. I am still stuck at the 1 million part. 1 million Kenya shillings, or 2 years of imprisonment, or both. And that is what you get once the law is enacted, and you are not allowed to share, exchange, or sell your seeds. The seeds that you've been storing, after every harvest, you have a portion of seeds. This area, you store your seeds, and this are put there for the next planting season. And imagine we're getting into the planting season, the next planting season, that is from January up until April. So yeah, that is why we need to get the information out there about this law, about the seed policy, And also, we got to learn about the potato policy, but that is a discussion for another day about the potato policy. Now, in a few, we'll be joined by a farmer, and this is Mr. Francis, and he'll be telling us because he also has been running the campaign as well. He's been at the forefront for the reenactment of this law. Yeah, so these are some of the things that we need to understand, and once the producer gives me a go ahead, we will get to that. But right now, I just need to know, do you know about that law? Do you know that it existed? Because I mean, if 75% and contributing 40% of the GDP, this means that 80% of our economy is driven by agriculture. And you heard it from the president on Jamhuri Day that we're going to depend on coffee, we're going to depend on leather and cotton, tea, and all this is in a bid to rise the GDP, the economy, from the current 7% to 20%. So this is a margin of 13% by 2030, and that is in 7 years. But now, if we have some blocks, or we stumble into seed policy law, we stumble into potato policy law, and I just want to tell you about the potato policy law. It says that so that you do not wonder what I'm talking about. The potato policy is that if you're a grower or a seller of potato, you need to be registered in your county. So if I for example, let's say I come from Makueni County and I am growing potatoes, I am selling potatoes, so I'm growing at large scale or even a small scale, I need to register with the county government. And this was the same thing we were talking about, and Anthony was explaining to us about registration of the seeds. And you find that someone has already gone and registered your rose cocoa beans. Yeah, so you are not allowed to sell them anymore. You are infringing the copyright of that person. It needs to get to the ground level where every farmer needs to understand, and we know who is this law protecting, because the laws are supposed to protect us. So are they working for us or against us? These are just some of the things that we need to understand. And that is why we are here as a Farmers Media to help you understand. So I need those comments coming. Please keep the comments coming. I just want to read out the comments. I want to know if you understand the indigenous seed policy or the potato policy. Did you know they even existed? And I was yesterday I was just discussing with Jackie, and Jackie was trying to explain the potato policy to me. Yeah, she was trying to explain the potato policy to me, and my mouth was just open, and she told me, please close your mouth so that we continue with this discussion, because for me it is just alarming that we have a potato policy and we have an indigenous seed policy. This is some of the things that 75% of the people do not know exist, and probably you did not know. So I want to know from the comment section, do you know that it existed? And do you think it is working for us as farmers or against us? And this is in regards to the seed policy that you are not supposed to share. And once enacted into it, the law is there. It is only that it has not been enacted. Once it's enacted, then you will be arrested. Those are just some of the things that we need to understand. And as we wait for that, we just get into the next segment. And now a story is coming in that a young boy from Fall River, this is yesterday, he succumbed to death by eating githeri that was given to the church, and it was in Turkana, and the githeri was cooked in church, and a few people decided to carry the food home. So the food was taken on Sunday, and different families consumed this food yesterday. And actually, the whole family, from the boy and some other neighbors, all those who had consumed that food, they complained of terrible stomach aches. but the boy succumbed to death by eating githeri. Yeah, so that is news. Just I just need to let it out there, and I'm wondering if did it have aflatoxin, and that is why we're running this campaign. Did it have aflatoxins? What is it? Is it food poisoning? What was the cause of this food poisoning? So yes, we're consuming, but we need to understand what is it that we are consuming. That is why you really need to visit that website to understand more about aflatoxins. And now, because it is 9 a.m. and it is Christmas time is almost here, I can already hear the bells, the Christmas bells ringing, jingle bells, all the way. Yeah, so I need to tell you about a home away from home. And this is where you can get best Wi-Fi, best rooms, and a very ambient place where you can just relax and let down. You just let loose. That was the word I was looking for. Letting loose for a few days. And this is in Athi Holiday Resort. Athi Holiday Resort. And it is good news because for everyone who's watching us, if you want to visit and book your room or make reservations in Athi Holiday Resort, you get 10% discount. So if you're watching us and you would want a place to chill and relax and let loose, and you just let the worries of this year just flow, you just want to let loose so that you start your new year with rejuvenation. You're rejuvenated, you're fresh for the new year. The place you need to visit is Athi Holiday Resort. Ambient rooms, swimming pools, a safe place for the children to play, and luxurious rooms, Wi-Fi. We have conference rooms in case you're having end of year party. If you want to just take your kids for holidays, it is a safe place for children to play, and there's a swimming pool. You can relax there, just have your drink, enjoy your Wi-Fi. If you're Netflixing, there's stable Wi-Fi, so you do not need to worry. The place you need to visit is Athi Holiday Resort, and that is where you can make your reservations. And if you can see from our screen, there is a number there that you can call if you need to make a reservation. And remember, if you're watching us, that means there's good news for you, 10% discount once you make a reservation. So please make sure that you make that reservation to ensure you enjoy that 10%. There's no way you can get to enjoy the 10% unless you are watching a Farmers Media Breakfast Show. That is the only way you get the 10% discount. And the 10%, you can use it to buy drinks, just to enjoy yourself once in Athi Holiday Resort. And once your holiday is over, please tell us about your experience on our website. And that is you tell us how your experience was. Did you enjoy the 10%? How was it? Was it worth it? Because I am sure it is worth all the money and the time. Yeah, do not worry, you will enjoy it, because I know I will enjoy it. So please, you can tell us your experience at our website, that is www.afarmers.com. Tell us how your experience was once you finish your holiday at Athi Holiday Resort. And now back to the punitive law, and this is an education to farmers, Indigenous law. And now, just to repeat what or rather to recap what Mr. Anthony Madilski was telling us, that this law was passed in 2012. Now remember, the ban on GMO was in 2010, but now this law was passed in 2012. Yes, and just to recap on what he said it is called the Seed and Plant Varieties Act, and the caption 326 of 2012. And this prohibits you from selling seeds, indigenous seeds, sharing your seeds, or even exchanging your seeds. And I keep repeating this part because this is a part that I am still wrapping my head around it. And once you're found in offense, you can be jailed for up to 2 years, or you can be slapped with a fine of 1 million Kenya shillings, or both of them at the same time. So yeah, that is why we need to educate our farmers. That is why we need to connect with you. That is why, as a farmer, you need to learn about this. As a policymaker, you need to know, is it a safe policy? Because at the end of the day, we are here for the farmers. So if policies are put in place, are they safe policies for the farmers? Or is it a safe policy for the government? We need to know where to draw the line. We need to understand where the gap is. We need to know where the miss is. Because at the end of the day, we are all working to the goal of ensuring that we are a safe country. We are a self-sufficient country. We have food security we can provide for ourselves. Yeah. So that is why we need to understand this. And now I'll be going on a short break, but I will be back with more on this. And this is about the indigenous seed policies right here on a Farmers Media. Please leave your comment. I want to know, did you know that there was an indigenous seed policy that existed? I just want to know. Please tell me on the comment section on our Facebook page, because we are live on Facebook. See you after the break.
Pesticides can be very harmful to humans and environment if they're not properly handled. Safe handling of pesticides involves proper selection and careful handling during mixing and application. However, as useful as they are, they're inherently toxic. Here are some ways you can handle pesticides for your own safety, your farms, and the people around you.
We are looking at reduced accumulation of obsolete pest control products in the country as one. We are also looking at the associated conservation of environment, and also protection, conservation of beneficial insects such as pollinators and predators, which are used to control other pests.
Before you use the pesticide, read the label and leaflet carefully. Measure the required quantity of pesticide.
You have to have adequate clean water for the mixing. Adequate meaning enough to dilute the pesticide, and also enough to do the cleaning of the equipment and yourself after the application. During the mixing process, you are also supposed to be wearing your personal protective equipment, or PPE, and this is to avoid exposure to the pesticides.
Applicators and handlers need to wear appropriate personal protective equipment specified on pesticide product labels by pictogram. In hot and humid climates, the wearing of additional protective clothing may be uncomfortable, and pesticides should therefore be applied during the cooler hours of the day. Care should be taken not to touch any part of the body with gloves while handling pesticides. Avoid spillage and prepare spray fluid in well-ventilated area. Do not eat, drink, or smoke when handling pesticides. Check the spray equipment before use for any leakages and accurate delivery of spray solution. The nozzle should be directed to the side, away from the body. This prevents applicators walking into the spray cloud or recently sprayed foliage. Inspect equipment regularly for leaks. Leaking equipment should be repaired and the skin should be washed after any accidental contamination. While applying pesticides, be sure to follow application instructions precisely. More is not better. Unnecessary and/or incorrect application can result in exceedance of maximum residue levels, which can make the produce unmarketable.
All consumers want to eat safe food. So whenever there is an issue of what we call exceedance of pesticides, or what we call maximum residual levels of a particular pesticide, then what happens is that the market becomes very concerned, because they want to assure their consumers that they are eating safe food, which basically is healthy. And then what they will do is that they are going to discontinue the supply of the products that you're exporting.
In contrast, responsible and correct pesticide use following good agricultural practices protects the crop and keeps residues within acceptable limits required for sale. Incorrect application of pesticides can damage the crops and have a negative effect on human health and the environment.
The vision is basically to ensure that we can bring as many farmers to understand the importance of safe use of pesticides, to understand the institutions that are involved in regulation of pesticides, to understand that pesticides, when used well, will support production or increase production, and more importantly, the risks associated to the environment from pesticides.
Once you have finished applying the pesticides on target crops, empty the spray tank completely after spraying. Spray any remaining spray mix on the ground of the treated crop. Triple rinse and puncture the empty pesticide containers and place this in a safe place for disposal. Ask your supplier or agro dealer about a collection scheme. Clean the spray equipment immediately after use. Decontaminate protective clothing and footwear through following proper laundering or cleaning instructions. Wash the hands and body thoroughly with soap water. A sprayed field must be marked and unauthorized entry should be prevented. In case of suspected poisoning, please refer to the label for instructions and call the Poison Center on toll-free line indicated on the label. Report the specific pesticide used. Mishandling pesticides could have adverse effects on not only plants but also humans and the environment. Proper care and instructions should be adhered to always. Farmers are advised to attend available trainings on good agricultural practices and pesticide use within their counties to ensure safety while handling pesticides. Remember, proper usage of pesticides increases yields and market access for your produce. Food safety is everyone's responsibility, starting with the farmer. Dawa bora, mazao bora.
We are back, and we're still on this discussion, and that is Indigenous seed policy. What will be your take on that? Did you know that there existed such a law? It is a law, it has not yet been enacted, but once it starts, I still go back to the money. 1,000,000 Kenya shillings, or 2 years imprisonment, or both. And that is why I call it slapping you with slapping you with a fine, and that is $1,000,000, 1,000,000 Kenya shillings. I mean, that is quite a lot of money, and all this is from selling, sharing, or even exchanging seeds. So for you to not be arrested, and that is what we're saying, for you not to be arrested, you have to register your seeds. Yeah, you have to register your seeds, and you have to visit the ministry, ensure that you register your seeds so that you own the copyright of those seeds. And someone here is asking, nowadays we have gone from copywriting music to copywriting seeds, and that is what I'm also wondering. I mean, copywriting of seeds, and this means that not every farmer is going to be able to do that. So they have to come and buy seeds that have a copyright. And from the story that we have had from the advocate, is that someone has had grass and the seed, but now replanting it or selling it is an issue because the copyright does not belong to him. Yet it has been in existence in his generation for quite a while. So those are some of the things that we are getting to understand about agriculture, about seeds, because seed is the source of life. I mean, without the seed, when you don't have the seed but you have the soil, or you have the farm but you do not have the seed, so what happens? You just have empty land, because seed is the source of food. Seed is the source of life, and seed is the motivation for a farmer. And that is why you see even the government saying that that they are going to ensure that all the farmers have adequate seed during the next planting season. And just looking at some of the things here, and we have the National Seed Strategy. They have started the strategy and investment plan, and that was in last month, yes. And they're going to be funded, and this is in a bid to review the national seed policy that was enacted in 2010. So the government has also started making a move in reviewing this policy, because clearly it is a burden for the farmers, because 75% of farmers not knowing that this exists, it is a problem. And of course, we'll try and get a hold of also someone from the government, and they tell us why the seed policy, how is it affecting us, because we are here to help you connect, learn, and grow. So we want to get the information out there. We will try as much as we can, and we'll try our level best to ensure that we get the information right, to avoid misinformation and disinformation in the enactment of this law. Now, just to have an example, there was a seed policy that was passed on in India. This is not in Kenya, in India. And it prevented the farmers from selling their own seeds because it was enacted into a law. And now the farmers could not have access to seeds. And these are seeds that they have had for a long time. But now, because it has been enacted into a law, they had to go and buy from the suppliers. Now, the suppliers are not necessarily from India, but this it restricted the farmers. They did not have the space to plant the seed that they want. They had to plant the seed that was provided for them by the seller who was selling. So you see the impact of the seed policy, or the effects, the adverse effects of the seed policy. So as much as we're trying to sort some other things and get good seeds that are drought resistant, that are pest resistant, that are good for our environment, because clearly it has gotten to a point where we cannot depend as a country on rain-fed agriculture. We have to shift gears and go to irrigation. So also the seed matters when it comes to irrigation. The seed matters when it comes to rain-fed agriculture. But now the advantage for indigenous seeds is that, and this is from what some of the farmers are saying, that it is good because it allows you to plant any time of the season. It also allows you to have your own seed. You don't have to go and buy it. You have your own seed, so you can plant it any season. You have the seed that you want. You can select the seed. For example, I told you about the breeding of the cassava seedlings. So you can choose the type of breed that you want. If it's a different breed for this area, you can choose. But imagine if someone else owns that copyright, you have to go and buy. Are we at a level where these farmers can afford that? And that is why we just engage the experts on this and go to understand, who does this law protect? Who does it really, really, really protect? Because if you're looking at the seed and the farmer, and 80% of the farmers are dependent on this. 80% of the farmers are dependent on this, and they do not get it. And 75% of the farmers do not know about the seed policy. Those are just some of the things. And from the farmers, there is an advantage to them of having indigenous seeds, because they get to plant and exchange with your neighbor, because you have gone to the area and you've seen that they have good bins. And you can exchange with them. They have a different breed, so you exchange the seedlings, and you get to just plant the seed that they have, and then they plant the seed that you have. Those are just some of the advantages, that you get to plant it any season. For some other seeds, you can want a seed that is going to give you produce in 3 months, other times 6 months. So those are just some of the advantages, which are a bit more as compared to the disadvantages of having the indigenous seeds. But this is what I think, or this is what I want to just get it out there. For the indigenous seeds, we can try and protect this, some of the plants that are extinct, or some of the produce, because long time ago we used to have different varieties of fruits, but right now the fruits cannot grow. So from what I understand about this law, if it is meant to protect the indigenous seeds, let it protect those seeds that are going to be extinct. For example, let's say there was a variety of passion fruit. We have the black one and we have the yellow one. So if this one is going to be extinct, it is paramount for us to protect it. And this goes to the example of the baobab tree that was also in our dailies this morning, that the National Environmental and Management Authority is prohibiting the cutting down of the baobab tree. And this is because it is good, and probably it is going to be extinct and only be found in other areas. For us to protect that means we have to enact this seed policy. So for some of the plants or the seeds, it is good that we enact them, because we as human beings, and we had from the conversation that yesterday, we are the largest contributor to the climate change. So if we extinguish all these indigenous seeds, we will not have the same fruit for next year, because a while back Kenya was self-sufficient in agriculture, but right now we are self-insufficient. We cannot provide, we cannot feed our country, we cannot feed ourselves as a country, and that is why that is where we are. We cannot feed ourselves as a country. And just getting to sample the comments, and as I told you, please let me know about the seed policy. Did you know it existed? The comment section, please hit that bell, so that when we go on air, you know that we are on air. You will be notified that we have gone live, and you will get to join in the conversation. You will get to understand about the laws that are there, the policies that are there, the safe policies, the punitive laws as well, because it is we make sure that we connect, learn, and grow right here. And just looking at that one comment here, and we have someone who's saying that the seed policy plan is a way to control our seeds and distribution pathways and seed delivery networks. And this is something that we have enjoyed for decades. It should not be enacted. It should not be enacted for us to continue enjoying our traditional ways of farming. Okay, that is just one of the views that I'm having here, and it is just a view from someone, and someone else here, and this is Great Abdul. Great Abdul is telling me that he would vote. I'm voting for my conscience, and it doesn't mean that I overlook the policy as a central plan, but I vote for my conscience in supporting the revoking of the seed policy. Okay, so Great Abdul, I hear you. You want you are voting for your conscience, and your conscience is telling you to vote for the revokement of or the reenactment of the seed policy. And those are just some of the comments coming. And I want to understand: did you know that if the seed policy existed, and also the seed banks? If we have the seed banks, then this means that if we take all our produce or our seeds to the seed bank, then this means that they will be accessible to other farmers as well. Not only for myself, but also another farmer who wants the indigenous seeds will be able to access them without the infringement of the copyright. Yeah, without the infringement of the copyright of the seeds, without being told that you have broken the law, because at the end of the day we want to do what is right for us as farmers, what is right for our soil, what is right for our climate, what is right for our government, and the government is supposed to help us do all this that is right. Okay, that is why we have brought up the seed policy. We want to help you understand it. We want to help understand before you make a decision, so that you make an informed decision to avoid misinformation and disinformation. That is why we are here as a Farmers Media, to help close that gap. And our seed suppliers are also for the policy, because they're demanding from the government arrears owed for them for seeds supplied for the program since 2021. Okay. And this is just some of the seed companies as well. Do they have seed banks? The seeds that they have, what is the process for registration of the seeds that the farmers have? So if the seeds companies have good seeds, then we can access the seeds. We can buy the seeds from them. If they have been tried and tested, then that is good. We can go that way. But if it means that even the law affects them as seed suppliers, and this is in terms of the registration, in terms of the sharing of the seeds, then this means that we have a problem, because seed is the source of food. Seed is the source of livelihood, and that is what we need as a country. And I'm just reading some of the comments here, and thank you, Florence. She's saying that she is tuned in from Sultan Hamud. Florence Mwikali is tuned in from Sultan Hamud, and thank you very much. I can see someone else here, and this is Katunge who's joining us. She's tuning in from Utawala. Thank you very much for watching our Farmers Media Breakfast Show. And we're just looking at the seed policy. Now, the Constitution of Kenya, this is in the 2010 Constitution of Kenya, it recognized indigenous seeds and the need for these seeds to be protected, and the existence. So if the existence of the indigenous seed was recognized and the need to be preserved, and this is what was commonly referred to as the informal seeds, and it placed the obligation upon the parliament to enact this law that would protect the ownership of such indigenous seeds. So this is the source of the enactment of this law. And now I can see that we have been joined by someone here who is a farmer, and this is Mr. Francis, who is a farmer, and he's going to help us understand from his point of view, him being a farmer, and tell us if he's an informal farmer and all that. So, good morning, Mr. Francis, if you can hear me. Good morning.
Good morning, I can hear you.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And today we are discussing about the indigenous seed policy. And from our conversation earlier, you told me that you are a supporter of the revoking of this law. Would you tell us why?
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I'm one of the supporters of those people who want to revoke these laws, because first, it is punitive, also very biased, and unconstitutional.
Okay, Francis, you said it is unconstitutional. What do you mean by unconstitutional? I thought it was the Constitution of 2010 recognized this and placed it upon the government. So why unconstitutional?
Okay, these laws, whoever made it did not try to see whether it is what is in constitution, because the constitution, we know, it supports the indigenous farmers and knowledge, and laws should be made so that the locals will benefit from their indigenous seeds. So these laws, the way they are not supportive. Whoever made it did not look into that, to the requirements of the constitution. That's why I'm saying the law is unconstitutional.
Now, I hear you, Francis. Now, you didn't get a chance to tell us, are you an informal farmer or are you a formal farmer? And if you are an informal farmer, what are some of the advantages or the process, the seeds that you've been using? Is it indigenous seeds? And what advantage do they have? Have they been of great help to you so far?
First, I would like to say that yes, I'm an informal farmer, just because maybe the system did not saw the need to formalize our farmers managed seed sector. So that's why we call ourselves informal. And yes, the things we have been benefiting from this sector, informal sector, because it has been there for so many centuries. So we can say this sector, informal sector, is the one which was in place before they brought up the formal sector they are calling. So I would say this is what our forefathers has been benefiting from. This sector is also very cheap and sustainable, because we don't have to use a lot of chemicals or these pesticides. So we see it is a sustainable way. It also helps in conservation of biodiversity. So we would say this is the best sector, even if they call it informal sector.
So this means that even for the government, while it is making this a law, it should involve you as informal sector. So from your understanding and your experience, was the farmer involved in making of this decision? Was there consultation? Was there education from the government or the policymakers to you as the farmers?
Okay, as far as I'm concerned, there was no such a consultation. But when we try to ask or to investigate were farmers involved in when they are making these laws? They said yes. And in fact, they did not consult the small scale farmers. But the problem is because when we talk about farmers, you can also be a farmer even if you are presenter. You can also be a farmer. If you just want 2 doves, you are a farmer, or 2 hens, you are a farmer. And maybe they themselves consulted themselves posing as farmers, and they say that they have consulted farmers. We have a problem in identifying the farmers. Who are these small scale farmers? So I think they did not consult us, but they say themselves that they consult us, but no column which representing small scale farmers or indigenous farmers.
I hear you, Mr. Francis. And now, let's say if the law was enacted today and it start action, and if you're found sharing the seeds, you will be arrested. What impact would it have on you as a farmer?
First of all, it will kill all the diversity, the biodiversity have been conserving for those years. Some of the things I'm conserving was left by my grandfather. That one will go because of that law, because of the monopoly they are trying to create in those laws. And also, they are going to push me far away from seed business. That is because to register one variety of seed, it costs more than 200,000, and that's too much for me. I can't afford. So it'll be pushed. There is no way I will be in business with seeds. And thirdly, now I will be forced to be planting what they want, but not what I want. That is, there will be no food sovereignty. There are no sovereignty in seeds. They will be choosing for me what to plant and what to conserve. And then the access to some of the seeds is also uncertain. It will be very difficult for me. Those are the greatest impacts. If these laws are enacted, I will face.
Wow, and that is quite interesting. So, registering one variety of seed will cost you almost 200,000. This means that farming, even for an informal farmer, will be an expensive activity. So, in your take, this seed policy does not protect the farmer. It protects the supplier of the.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm asking if this, in your take, because if registering one variety of seed is 200,000 Kenya shillings, this means that farming as an informal farmer will be a very, very expensive activity. So, in your take, this seed policy, if it said today that we just register the indigenous seeds, like some of the fruits or the plants that are extinct, would that be better as opposed to placing it on every other type of seed?
Okay, I'm not getting the last part of the question.
I'm asking, for example, if we say passion fruit is being extinct in Kenya right now, and if passion fruit is being extinct in Kenya, we need to protect that type of seed because it is not going to be available in the next 2 or 3 years. Would that be better as opposed to saying that all the seeds have to be registered from maize to beans? Which is better, the extinct fruit or all other types of seeds?
I think it is better for us to be conserving all those things because they are also important. And you know what they are doing when you are registering, they are using some standards. They call them DUS, that is distinct, uniform, and stable. And naturally, there are things which cannot withstand such standards. And they are naturally that way. So that means if the way they are, the standard they have set in those laws to go by registering all the seeds. Some will never meet those standards and will never be registered. And in fact, it will be, if they are not registered, the law says that it cannot be certified. And if it cannot be certified, they are not supposed to be planted. And that's the way most of the seeds will get instinct. So I would prefer they create both policies to go hand in hand, the informal sector and the formal sector. It should exist, it should coexist instead of eliminating one or tending to favor one side. I think my take is both systems should be allowed to operate and should be promoted.
So this means that right now, if it is enacted into a law, it is going to push away the informal farmer. It is going to be oppressive to the informal farmer. Okay, I understand that. Now, you know about this seed policy. Have you been educating other farmers as well about the seed policy and what will happen if it is enacted into a law?
Yes, that's the work we have been doing. In fact, I work with Seed Savers Network, an organization dealing with seed saving, and I'm a seed ambassador. And that is the work we are doing right now, educating farmers how to save their own seeds in the seed banks and how to conserve the seeds. And in fact, the farmers are appreciating a lot. They are also aware of these punitive laws and they are ready to reject it if they try to enact it. The government will meet a lot of opposition, and we have been trying to engage with some of the officers of the government, and they are denying that there is such laws in place because farmers they have not come into open. Yeah.
And last month, and that is on 30th, the Ministry of Agriculture got into the move to review this seed policy that was put in place in 2012. So far, has it been able to reach to the farmers level to help them in the reviewing process? Has the farmer been involved in the reviewing process of this policy?
No, they have not involved any farmer. I have not heard of such a thing, and we have been following, and no farmer has been consulted. The problem with these people, they try to make laws themselves without consulting us. There is no forum to reach us. They think for us. They think what is the best for us. Only later on that they meet some opposition from us. So I would say boldly that they never consulted us.
And that is quite alarming, considering that this policy affects directly the farmers. And now, because you've mentioned you work with the Seed Savers Network and you've mentioned seed banks, what are the seed banks, and once the seeds are in the seed banks, are they accessible to every farmer?
Yes. In the seed bank, what we normally do, we select, each and every farmer select the seeds he want to save. He multiply. He also clean the seeds, the ones which have disease. They remove the seeds which have diseases, and also clean and healthy seeds. They also do germination and moisture test to determine the viability of the seeds, and then they store in the seed banks. We have three types of seed banks. The individual seed bank. A farmer has a seed bank in his house, and then from there, the farmer will take the seed to the farmer seed bank around that area. And then we have community seed banks, where the community puts the seed, all their seeds there. So the individual farmer's seed bank feeds the local farmer seed bank, and the farmer seed bank feeds the community seed bank in the area. And all the farmers now, we have things we call seed fairs, where all the people in the community will gather and exchange seeds. Now the farmer will access any seeds he wants, because the only challenge we don't have is put in the packet and take it to the agrovet, we cannot do that according to their law. But as far as the new law is concerned, all these seed banks, all this work we have been doing will be now useless because it will be illegal. That's what we are fearing.
Okay, I hear you and understand you now. So this means that even the seed fairs will not be there because farmers will not get the chance to exchange their seeds. So, in your last words, what would you want to tell a farmer who's watching you and they have not heard about the seed policy or gotten any education about the seed policy?
Okay, what I would like to tell the farmer who is listening to me is not everything is finished. Farmers should embrace seed banking. They should start saving seeds or knowing how to save seeds. And according to our experience, we had been saving some seeds even for 4 years, the seeds being viable. So they should adapt the seed saving concept and let the government enact all these laws. But once we continue saving our seeds in our individual homes, there will come a time when we will replant these seeds, when we will reject these laws, and up to that moment, the government will accept what we are saying, and we will come out with our seeds and plant them. That's all what I can tell to my fellow farmers, that they should not be tired. They should continue saving seeds and multiplying until when the government will hear us.
What do you think the government should do differently in terms of enacting this law and reinforcing it? What is the government supposed to do different to include you as a farmer as well?
There are so many things the government can do, and because it has been happening in other countries, the government, if they want, they can make good policy to promote farmers management system, e.g., or for example, we have things we call open seed source license. They can introduce it, and it will help. A farmer will not be forced to undergo those rigorous, expensive registering of certifying their seeds. They can also have another thing like what's happening in Uganda, quality declared seeds. That they don't look into so many things like dues. They can also, if they want, because these seeds, these seed breeders are trying to patent, they belong to certain locals. They should be paying things we call loyalties to those farmers who want the seeds, because nobody came with seeds from heaven. They were here. He just get from a certain community. He says that he discovered it and he was given the patent right. They should be paying loyalty. And also, the government, if it wants, it can start funding and promoting seed banks. If they do that, like in other countries, we will have a very rich biodiversity, we will have food sovereignty, and also farmers will benefit from their local traditions. Because some of the things you see, it also determine our culture, our heritage. Like in some communities, there are some ladies who are, when they are being married off, they are giving some seeds as being productive. So if they come out and if the government does want to support that, it will be supporting a lot of things like promoting our heritage, our diversity, and also our livelihood.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Francis. That was very informative. And I had the point that no one came with seeds from heaven. They found them here, so they should be paid loyalty. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope that we will get to engage as a father, even in dealing or discussing also about the potato policy, which you were explaining to me yesterday, the potato policy as well. And what it means for the farmer as well. Thank you very much for your time and for your informative information on experience about seed banks and the Seed Savers Network as well.
Thank you very much also.
And there you have had it from Seed Savers Network, and they are working with farmers to ensure that they have seed banks and to preserve the biodiversity. And this comes even with the COP15 that is going on in Canada right now, and Kenya is attending that conference, and this speaks about biodiversity and ensuring that nature is preserved and that COP15 is successful. So you have had it from the advocate of Greenpeace Africa and from Seed Savers Network, and this is Mr. Francis, who was telling us the importance of seed policy, of seed banks, and also the punitive law that is pressing on to the farmers. And because we are short on time, I just want to read through some of the comments that are coming in from our viewers who are watching us, and we're getting to understand about the seed policy. We just had a very good talk with Mr. Francis from Seed Savers Network, and telling us the importance of seed banks, the importance of preservation of our biodiversity. And looking at the comments, we have Gideon who's saying, good morning, I am watching you from Machakos, and I believe that our culture is embedded deeply on our agricultural practices, and passing it as a law means that we will be going against our tradition. And that is from Gideon, and so much more is coming right here on our Facebook page as well as our Twitter handle and on Instagram as well. All these comments that are coming in, and everyone who's watching us, and they're trying to understand the seed policy as well and the stringent measures that come with the seed policy. And now, on that note, I would like to just maybe Mr. Producer, if you could give me the quote of the day as I get to wind up the show, and the understanding of the seed policy and the importance. So from what we have gathered is that 75% of the farmers have no education about the seed policy. They do not know that it actually exists, and the impact of the enactment of this same law. And that 25% only know about it, and the 25% are actually propagating for the reenactment of this law. This means that we have to get deeper, we have to get our claws out and get to understand from the policymakers why the policy and who does it favor. And we will do that right here on our Farmers Media, as well as educating all the farmers on the importance of the seed policy and the importance of indigenous seeds and how to preserve them. And I can see that we have the quote of the day, and this is: an agricultural life is one eminently calculated for human happiness and human virtue. An agricultural life is one eminently calculated for human happiness and human virtue. And my question to you is, as we have learned about the seed policy, does it calculate for our human happiness and our human virtue? And we had a comment here for someone who said they're voting for their conscience. So from what you have learned, does it calculate to our human happiness and our human virtue? So let us ensure that we employ all these good things and the good agricultural practices as well, so that we can achieve human happiness and human virtue. My name is Christine Mutindi, and thank you so much for having watched this show on Farmers Media, and I wish you a very, very blessed weekend ahead. See you on Monday.